I'm Amy Jacobs, the Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning, and this year we are celebrating the 15th year of Georgia Pre-K Week, where we invite legislators and local leaders from all over the state to visit a Georgia Pre-K classroom and read a book. This is really their opportunity to help us promote the importance of Georgia Pre-K and high-quality early learning for all children across our state. And this year we have a very, very special book called Every Amazing Story, and I'm very fortunate that the two authors are here with me today, Coy Bowles and Malcolm Mitchell. So for those unfamiliar with the two of you gentlemen, will you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Coy.
Yes, my name is Coy Bowles. I am from Thomaston, Georgia, and I am a musician, an author, an educator, and an advocate for early education. I play guitar and keyboard and write songs for the Zac Brown Band, and have been in that band for about 17 years now. And I have two beautiful daughters who are 7, 8, and a beautiful wife, and I am a very lucky person and thankful to be here.
Great.
My name is Malcolm Mitchell. I was born and raised in Valdosta, Georgia. I played football for the mighty Valdosta Wildcats, then went on to be a student athlete at the University of Georgia, and later became a Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. But along the way, I learned that football was not the most important thing in the world, that reading was the greatest gift, and it would help us empower our future. So I became a picture book author, started sharing my love for literacy, and created Share the Magic Foundation, and I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you both, so let's dig into Every Amazing Story. It is geared for early learners, but I really want to learn from both of you, what's it about, but what was your inspiration?
Well, we got asked by the state to if we were willing to collaborate and write a book for the Pre-K week, and both of us have been a part of working with the state and writing books for Pre-K in the past. So we were really excited for the opportunity to do it again. And I had never personally collaborated with anyone on a book before. I've collaborated with a lot of people on music before. So we kept trying to come up with stories, and ultimately we kind of landed on, wouldn't it be cool if we taught kids how to write stories? You know, because I come from a really small town, and like oral tradition is a big thing where I come from. So a lot of sitting around the kitchen table on Thanksgiving and telling old stories, and you know, as a kid, can you tell that one again next year, kind of thing. So the power of the story is really mighty to me, and it was a real pleasure for us to like come up with this concept of like, why don't we, you know, teach kids how to write a story. So it turned out great too, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, there's this old idea, it may still be relevant, that every athlete wants to be a musician and musicians want to be athletes.
Okay.
Now, I can't speak from the musician's perspective, but you know, as an athlete getting asked to collaborate with Coy, I was obviously enthralled by the idea. Now, he's being very bashful about how the story came about, because I drafted maybe 3 or 4 stories before that, and Coy basically, in the most polite way, said, nah, we need something different.
Okay.
So we brainstormed, and we were just sitting there thinking about what idea can we pull out of our experience and perspective to share with young students that would be meaningful. And we thought about, we're actually going through the exercise of creating a book. Mm-hmm. What if we document that? What if we write that in an engaging way where students can understand the different components?
Yeah.
And that's how we landed on Every Amazing Story.
It makes sense. You're already doing the process, so make it relevant for our Pre-K students.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the thing that was really interesting about this process was our perspectives were so unique and different, and there was a big yin and yang to each other where, you know, some of my weaknesses were his strengths and some of his weaknesses were my strengths. And so at the end of the day, the collaboration process was really fun and exciting. Like once we started getting to where we knew each other more, we felt more comfortable around each other. There was this thing that, like a little bit of a magical thing that kind of happened to where we're like, okay, we're friends now. You know what I mean? We're like, we know that we're good there, you know? And then so it's like, well, what do we want to do? And then that was where we started sharing like what we have to offer, and what we have to offer is we both write stories together. And so that was kind of the simplest way to be genuine, you know, and unique at the same time, you know. So
I'll confess, once I picked up on Coy's strength, I would lean in on it.
Good.
So
Yeah.
Coy is great, my opinion, Coy is great at thinking about the text and sharing that it's fun, it's exciting, it's new, it's creative, it's innovative. So what I would do is, instead of spending 2 hours wondering if I was coming up with something fantastic, I just jot down anything, send it to Coy, and I say, he'll fix it if you don't like it. You know, but it made for a fun back and forth. And I think that's something that we can all, you know, hone in on is how do we collaborate?
Yes.
How do we use each other's strength to get to the finished product, whatever that may be?
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, as I said, this book is going to every Georgia pre-K student. It's on its way as we speak. So what do you hope that our pre-K students get out of this book? If you could hope for one thing that a pre-K student opening up this book when he or she gets it in his classroom, what's one of your hopes that they'll take away from it?
I think for me, my dream with any book that I create is that it's a book that they ask for. You know, that we did our job, and it's something that where after they read it one time or it's read to them one time, that they're like, I want to read that book again. You know, and when that happens, the repetition of reading the book again is when they'll start understanding, you know, and the concepts will start sinking in about plot and setting and, you know, the kind of the things that we wrote about in the story. So my one goal is for, you know, a kid to ask for, you know, hey, can we read that book again? Because that's when the magic starts of them being able to digest and learn from what we're creating, you know?
Right.
My hope, and it has a lot to do with how my mother raised me, is I believe that everybody has value. No matter their circumstances, no matter the challenges they face, no matter what they've done, you have an amazing story. And if you share that story, you will enrich someone else to be the best version of themselves. So I hope that every child, even at pre-K, understands how magnificent and amazing their story is, and that they're encouraged to share it.
I've been doing a lot of teacher advocacy over the last few years, and one of the things, especially with early education, and one of the things that I think is the most undervalued is teachers not like really aligning with their origin story and telling all the stuff that they've been through to get to where they're here, connected to their calling, and teaching young kids, you know, about life and about all of these, you know, traits and skills that we need to leave or need to have for life, you know, where it's reading and whatnot. So I really believe in the power of the origin story, you know, like aligning with that. And also, as he's saying, is like sharing it.
Right.
You know, people really understand, and we can have empathy for each other a lot more easily when we understand what somebody's backstory is, you know?
Absolutely. We all have one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So clearly you're both advocates for literacy and early literacy and really all things education. It kind of spans very wide. But what got you started writing for early learners?
Yeah, I'll take that on. I grew up struggling to read. I grew up in a community where access to books was limited, where there's a cultural disconnect between the power of education and ideal outcomes for your life. So once I became a reader and I realized the impact that it was having on my life, I thought to myself, it's important and imperative that we receive these messages early. That way children in certain communities don't have to give up hope if the ideal of something like being a football player or a basketball player or a musician or an actor doesn't work out. Now, there are other things you can do in the world that are meaningful and that will help you get to your ultimate objective. Once I learned the impact of third grade literacy scores and reading proficiency levels, well, that only amplified my ambition. But simply put, I grew up in an environment where the ideal of it was scarce, but the power of it is real. And I wanted to encourage as many people as I possibly can to read, And that's why I started writing. That's why I created Share the Magic Foundation. And that's why I support education, because it is the most self-empowering tool a person could possess.
Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah, for me, it was simple. Just once I started learning more about early education, it was like, well, if we can build a strong foundation from the beginning, like if I can teach kids to be curious and creative at a young age, then the likelihood of them having a foundation of confidence in those areas will be, the likelihood for success is a lot greater, you know. So it was like, let's just get them early. And personally, I'm the guy who, like, at Thanksgiving, I'm going to sit at the kids' table.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
I'm
I have
surprised.
no
That
desire
shocks
to
me.
sit around a bunch of adults talking about how old they are and their knees hurt and everything else. I'm like, what have you guys been up to? You know?
didn't have to bring up the knees.
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I mean, sensitive subject.
That's true. Ooh,
Yeah.
that hurts.
I just had knee surgery. So.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's all those
I'm great
jumps.
though. I'm fine now.
Maybe we should have had a pre-K student do this interview.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Ooh,
actually.
next
Yeah.
time. We'll do that next
Yeah.
time. All right, I want to take a moment to focus on the latter part of the book. So it starts off with this shared love of writing and transitions to this exploration of how far your imagination can take you, which you both have an amazing imaginations and are so very creative. So talk a little bit about what made you add that last part.
Coy. I mean, no, Coy has an imagination that I cheered on. He has an imagination that I continue to cheer on, and I thought it was very inspiring how far his brain would go, how wide it would reach.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I like thinking I like being around kids and getting them to envision what creativity looks like for them. You know, so like the book I wrote in the past, Behind the Little Red Door, the whole idea is like, what's behind this thing, you know? And so I still try to see if I can't like tap into that state of mind a little bit, where, you know, I think as we get older, we kind of like somewhat lose this childlike, you know, view of life. And I've tried to be, you know, adult and, you know, in my responsibilities and my dedication to my family and everything else. But I've also tried to be able to like, it's okay to like drift over in this place of like, what would I think like if I was kind of like thinking more like a kid. And when I do that with my own kids, that's when they start chiming in, and, you know, when we kind of get more silly or whatever, you know. So for me, it's like bright, colorful illustrations where Andy really came in and knocked it out of the park. And also, you know, like everybody loves koalas. You know, they're like the cutest animal in the world. But what if they were like singing koalas, you know, and then karaoke singing koalas? So, you know, it starts with a simple thing and kind of spreads out to try to see if we can't like reel the kids in, you know.
Yes.
So inside the book, there's a line. It's very true. There is a line where Coy throws out all of these ideas.
Right.
Cartwheeling frogs, karaoke singing koalas. And I remember as we were actually working on the book, I said, oh, wait a minute now.
I think the fact that what was really great about the process was, because he's kind of pumping me up as being the creative or whatever, but in all actuality, he had a lot of really amazing ideas and creative ones. And but the cool part about it was, I was kind of able to go really far out, and he would be like, all right, let's reel it back in. And then, you know, some of the stuff that he was getting focused on was like kind of the concept of the book. And I was like, well, the illustrations are going to take care of some of that, you know, too. And he was like, yeah. So we kind of like really helped balance each
Tell
other
about
out.
the read-alouds,
The read-alouds?
where I had you reading the story aloud. So
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, my favorite part of working with him, and something that I'll do for the rest of my life when writing a book, was we would kind of mess with the story, write some lines and everything, and he'd be like, all right, take it from the top. I'm like, well, let's just read where we were just at. So we would read where we were just at and what we just wrote, and I was like, all right, it's great, let's go to the next page. He's like, let's read it from the top. And so we would read it from the top again, and then I'd be like, all right, next page, let's go through this one. So we go through the next page, we correct some of it, we would read that page, and he'd be like, all right, read it from the top. And I was like, we just read it from the top. This is the 20th time we read it from the top. But honestly, that's why I feel like we took a kind of odd idea of there being a story in a story. And, you know, because he was like, man, we're going to lose him. And I'm like, no, trust me, we won't. But we might have if we hadn't read it from
Right,
the top so
right.
many times.
Makes sense.
Because we got the book in, and I handed it to my 6-year-old daughter, and she read it, and she was like, "This is a story within a story,"
Ooh,
and
she
I was
got
like, "Yes!" You know, score.
Yes.
Well,
So-
here's a nod towards, Coy's amazing talent.
Yeah.
I learned to read later in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't start with phonemic awareness, which is what is so important. Science of reading, evidence-based literacy practices, we've had all those conversations.
Absolutely.
I'm aware of the necessity for those, but that's not how I began the process.
Mm-hmm.
I began the process later, and sentence structure was important for me,
Mm-hmm.
identifying punctuations. So I learned to read through the flow of the narrative. Right?
Yeah.
I
Right,
feel the
right.
story a lot more than I guess identify certain other aspects of it. So reading from the top, I close my eyes
Yeah.
and I will listen to Coy read. And then when something sounded off, it's like you striking the wrong chord in
Yeah,
a
yeah,
song. I'm
yeah.
like, nope, we got to start over.
Yeah, the
know?
bounce is wrong. And it's cool because it's
know?
so similar to songwriting.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, when you read it from the top,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, here we go. And then you start, and then you're like, okay, whoa, what just happened? It got weird there for a second. And you go back and you kind of flip the words around and make the rhyme or make the bounce of the words a little different, the rhythm. And then you're like, all right, and you read it from the top again, and it doesn't like get sluggy there for
Right.
some reason. You're like, all right, we did it. Let's keep moving, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. There's definitely going to be an unexpected when they read this book. Like, oh, it's over. Oh no, wait.
Yeah, what?
There's a whole new part. I love that part. That's a surprise. All right, so before this project, you were both writing books individually. Behind the Little Red Door, Can You Touch a Color, specifically for Georgia Pre-K. That's how we met. That was fun. Hey Georgia, and a magnificent field trip to the Governor's Mansion. Those were amazing books that we did for Georgia Pre-K. But now, this is your collaboration. So how did this all come about, and what did you think about it, working together?
Well, Decal brought us together. Liz brought us together. Laura brought us together. The team at Decal brought us together because you all told us about each other.
Yeah.
And we met at an event for
Yeah.
educators.
Yes, you did. That's
yeah,
right.
Teachers of the Year.
Yeah,
That's right.
we were at that event together, and Coy shook my hand and gave me that look like, who's this guy? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, we got to meet, and you know, it's an interesting thing when you start working in with kids in early education because you know, there's not a lot of people who have been successful in other areas who decide to come to early education. You know, it's not like it's the same as like say in the environment or something where a lot of adults who are successful in areas try to give back or involved in projects like that. So when we met, and I was like, okay, he's writing books too. Okay, you're doing this thing kind of like I am. And then the more we started talking about it, the more we were like, dude, we're on the same mission, man. You know, like, so we've even talked after this project about what our future looks like with writing more books together. You know, just being divide and conquer, you know, kind of thing, and supporting his foundation with the books that I write and whatever we can do to be supportive of each other. And we oddly live like very close to each other
that's
too.
nice. That's good.
Yeah, like minutes away from each other. So I feel like the universe is kind of, you know, if you follow the signs, the universe is like, Coy, Malcolm, meet each other, go do a lot of cool stuff
Yeah.
with literacy for early education. And the best part about it is our relationship with Decal has been so unbelievable in the sense that we have this opportunity to get this many books and our creativity out to so many kids. I mean, I think it's 80,000 or 85,000 kids are going to get this book.
But
and
if
that's like a dream come true for a creative person,
Yeah.
you know, like it's like, wow. So, you know, we both really are grateful for that experience and really take it on of like, okay, this has got to be really good because it's going out to a lot of people and this is our chance to affect positive change, you know, so.
Well, I was actually thinking through this earlier this week. If you combine the efforts for Georgia Pre-K over the last 5 years,
Yep.
well, you have to take that 80,000 and multiply it by 5.
Yeah, I
And
did 2
that's-
books, you did 2 books, and then we did the one together.
And that's, you know, to me, that's me trying to just communicate how special I think decal is, right? I'm sure you get a lot of opportunities to work with organizations. I get a lot of opportunity to work with organizations. My foundation gives out books as well. So I know that's no easy thing to accomplish, but the fact that you all have given out that amount of books in the last 5 years is astounding.
Yeah.
And decal doesn't walk around with flashing lights saying, "Look at me," but I want you to know that I see, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's just a small piece of what you do,
Right.
you know? So.
Yeah, single-handedly, it's been a giant part of me being able to, the connection with Georgia, these projects have allowed me to create other things that, you know, are based off of some of these books that go out into the world. Like we did a kit with Lakeshore Learning that was based off of Behind the Little Red Door, and that went out to thousands of kids as well. So, you know, just the connectivity that Georgia's allowed us to have, and the, you know, and the credibility that it's allowed us to have within the industry of writing books has been something that's been so valuable, you know. And I think for me as a creative, I close my dreams at night and I'm just like, how can I reach everybody? That's the goal.
Right.
There's nothing more than that. It's not based off of anything other than how do I get my creativity to everyone and make a difference. And the relationship with decal has just been so amazing in that way, you know.
Well, we appreciate the relationship with you guys too. It's been really fun, and it's been a great collaboration, and we hope we can do more. But you know, when I think about Georgia Pre-K as a whole, it is a collaboration between decal, teachers, students, parents, guardians, and oftentimes Georgia Pre-K is that first education experience for kids. So we respect parent choice in choosing, hopefully, Georgia Pre-K, or at least getting started early. But if a parent were to ask you, why or why not should I send my child to Georgia Pre-K, do you have any advice that you'd give to those parents on the importance of quality early education?
Yeah, the most brain development takes place between 0 to 5, right? Or womb to 5.
Absolutely.
So it's critical if you want your kids to start off with a firm foundation when they enter grade school, starting at pre-K to first grade. You want to get them started as early as possible. From what I know, Georgia Pre-K is offering some amazing resources to ensure that families are not just equipped in the actual setting of pre-K, but actually have resources that they can implement at home. There's no greater investment in a child than ensuring they have a firm foundation for education. Yeah. If you want your child to be the best that they can be, get them started early if you can.
Yes.
Now, I know the challenges because I grew up in a family that faced those challenges, right? But if you can do it, please do so.
Yeah, and also when you travel around like we do and go to other states, you know, Georgia is very, very high up on what they're capable of offering and what we as a state consider to be important, like pre-K programming. So this isn't in every state like this, you know, and I feel very grateful that our state considers this to be something that is something we want to value and offer to our citizens, you know, and community. And also at the end of the day, you know, talking about foundation and all of this, I mean, there's nothing more important for our future than making sure that the kids have a strong foundation and we support them in that, you know, so it's just being part of the positive.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we know Georgia Pre-K absolutely prepares kids for kindergarten, and it's accessible because it's absolutely free thanks to our successful Georgia Lottery. So we've got that going for us for over 30 years.
That's so awesome.
And the book is free to families as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So each and every pre-K student and their teachers will receive one of these books. They will use it in their classroom all year long, and they will take it home with them. So
that's so cool.
That's
awesome.
so very exciting. So thank you, gentlemen, for being with us, and thank you for your collaboration and for every amazing story.
Awesome.
Thank you.